A ship exits hyperspace to dock with the station. We meet two of our main heroes, Obi-Wan Kenobi, neophyte Jedi Knight, and his Padawan, Anakin Skywalker. They've traveled a long way to reach this station in orbit above Nar Shaddaa, which in turn is a moon to Nal Hutta, homeworld of the Hutts. The purpose? A peace treaty. The Republic and Trade Federation have recently had a few skirmishes across the Outer Rim. So in an attempt to de-escalate, both sides have sent representatives to negotiate an end to hostilities. They're using Hutt territory as a neutral ground, with the Hutts additionally acting as arbiters. And right off the bat, we established the world state. The growing Trade Federation is powerful enough to threaten the Republic, at least on the Outer Rim, whereas the Hutts are a third faction that entertains no affiliation with either side. Allegedly. Senator Palpatine of Naboo has been selected to act as the Republic's representative during these—
A surprise, to be sure, but a welcome one.
Shut up, Sheev. This development is exciting for Anakin, who grew up on Naboo. Anakin's origin is entwined with Palpatine's in that, years prior to this diplomatic gathering, Naboo was embroiled in a brutal civil war. In said war, a 5-ish-year-old Anakin lost both of his parents, leaving him alone, until Palpatine negotiated an end to the war and implemented a program to shelter/rehome the orphans left in its wake. Anakin, a beneficiary of said program and the peace it sprung from, feels a level of admiration and indebtedness to Palpatine, and he carries those feelings into this mission, which begins as peace talks commence. Palpatine goes back and forth with Newt Gunray, Trade Federation rep, about the logistics of a tenuous peace, but as the two men speak, we shift focus, or at least one of our heroes does, because while Obi-Wan is locked in, Anakin is distracted when he notices and subsequently approaches one of Palpatine's aides, Padme Amidala. These two share a history, because they are both orphans of the Naboo Civil War. They grew up together until their paths diverged. Whereas Anakin was recruited into the Jedi Order, Padme was rehomed with one of the wealthiest families on Naboo. Thus, as an adoptive scion of pseudo-royalty, Padme has followed a path leading into the political sphere, hence why she is currently a subordinate of her homeworld's sitting senator. Anakin and Padme commiserate over their shared past, but their reunion is cut short by an explosion. Obi-Wan, having anticipated the ambush through the Force, immediately springs into action with lightsaber alight. Anakin is slower to brandish his own saber, which is yellow. Keep that in mind, we'll circle back. Mercenaries infiltrate the space station to attack the delegation. Anakin and Padme defend Palpatine directly, while Obi-Wan goes on the offensive, until, from the skirmish, a mysterious woman appears, and tries to assassinate Palpatine. Anakin and Padme are barely able to fend the woman off long enough to get Palpatine away from the conflict. The assassin triggers explosions across the station, retreating, and simultaneously forcing our three heroes to separate from the Senator and his delegation. The trio race back to the Jedi's ship, taking off as the station breaks apart. But they're not out of it yet. Fighter ships pursue as a battle erupts around the station. Anakin pilots the Jedi ship, hoping to face the attackers head-on, but Obi-Wan sees the writing on the wall and instructs his Padawan to retreat. He and Padme hop into the turret bays while Anakin flies them out of the dogfight. But they're not out of it yet. 5 fighters peel off to give chase and we get classic Star Wars aerial combat. But this time it's an orbit-to-surface chase. Anakin races the ship down to Nal Hutta, flying through a storm to skirt through jungles, mountains, and canyons, weaving through laser fire and managing expert maneuvers while Obi-Wan and Padme pick off their attackers. Together, the three best their assailants, felling the last ship and escaping scot-free. Until their ship gets struck by lightning, causing them to crash land. In the aftermath, Obi-Wan reaches out via comlink to Palpatine and his entourage. The Senator is in hiding and thus safe, but the sector is not. The orbital battle has simmered down, but multiple parties are at each other's throats. The Trade Federation and Republic parties are on edge, while the Hutts are more interested in re-establishing their order than helping either side. Anakin suggests summoning the Jedi Order to clean everything up, but Obi-Wan and Padme refuse. Calling reinforcements is out of the question, as it would likely worsen the conflict, especially with the Hutts using gangs as proxies to destabilize talks. Allegedly. So the trio decide it's up to them. They have to reach Palpatine, subdue the mysterious assassin, and ensure a successful peace summit. But first, they need a ship. Meanwhile, a cloaked figure observes the skyline of Nar Shaddaa, while a page tells him of the various factions preparing for another clash. But he simply waves the page off as another figure steps up beside him. The two discuss how things are going, concluding that the negotiations will likely fall through. Still,
The Jedi think they will bring peace,
the cloaked figure speaks.
but peace is a lie. Go now, and make them martyrs.
And Darth Maul obeys. Back on Nal Hutta, our team has trekked from their crash site to a settlement. Once there, they realize their Republic credits are essentially useless, meaning they lack the funds for a ship. But conveniently, there's a little event going on with the ship as a prize. A little, race of pods. It's pod racing. They have to do pod racing. Despite never having raced a pod in his life, Anakin is confident he can win the race. Why?
Well, I'm the best star pilot in the galaxy, of course.
Padme is skeptical.
Didn't you just crash our ship? Well, I'm not gonna crash another. 2 crashes so close together is statistically unlikely.
Obi-Wan is also skeptical.
And just how will you do that, my young Padawan? I'll just be better than everyone else. Like always.
Obi-Wan rolls his eyes.
You will try.
Our trio lack a surplus of options though, so they're gonna go for it. Only problem is, they don't have a pod racer. But Anakin has an idea, so the three head to the junkyard. Once there, Anakin has Padme select a suitable pod racer, or what's left of one. Then he and Obi-Wan combine their force powers to lift the racer from the dregs of the wreckage and set it up, so that Padme, who is, according to Anakin, the best mechanic in the galaxy, can fix it up with other junk parts. Thus ensues a repairing sequence. Padme works while Anakin and Obi-Wan bring her various parts to cobble together the pod racer. During this, and during downtime between scavenging for parts, Obi-Wan meditates, whereas Anakin, who is too restless to follow in his master's footsteps, talks to Padme. The two bond over escaping their painful past. Padme confesses that she feels like her path was chosen for her, and laments that she's destined for politics despite possibly wanting something else. Whereas Anakin confesses that he knows Obi-Wan didn't want to become his master and did it more out of duty than desire, and that he feels like he must prove himself in order to show Obi-Wan he's worth choosing. No time to explore that though, because Obi-Wan senses a presence approaching. This time he warns the others, giving them a chance to turn from hunted to hunters. The three lie in wait, but no ambush comes. Instead, a lone figure enters the junkyard, silent, then looks directly at where Padme is hiding and ignites his lightsaber. Before Obi-Wan can stop him, Anakin leaps into action, and the two face Maul. But once their clash begins, it immediately worsens, because the assassin and her goons are also back. Luckily, she and Maul aren't on the same team, meaning our heroes are able to survive by putting the Sith between them and their other assailants. Still, things aren't going too hot for our heroes. Padme gets the pod going and almost leaves at Obi-Wan's urging, but instead she wheels around, risking her life, and rescues her companions. The two Jedi jump onto the pod racer and the trio zip out of there, leaving Maul to face the assassin's forces. Once back in the settlement, the trio recovers. Obi-Wan reports Maul to the council, but to his dismay they tell him they can't do anything while tensions are still high. Anakin and Padme do some investigating and learn the identity of the assassin. Aura Singh, a bounty hunter who specializes in hunting Jedi. She is supposedly working for the Trade Federation, though our heroes can't be sure. No time to focus on her though, or even Maul, because the immediate focus is the pod race. Anakin competes for the first time, but beyond the difficulty of racing pros, there's another catch. Padme's Slapdash Pod Racer was built for speed, not durability, or longevity, meaning it's breaking apart. So Anakin is racing against both his opponents and time. But his innate talent is with him, and so is the Force. And with his master and Padme watching, he just barely ekes out a win. Right before his pod splinters and breaks apart, causing him to crash. He still got the dub though, so our heroes get the ship. And an incoming holo call from Aura Singh, who proceeds to reveal that her men have captured Palpatine.
However,
She says,
the good senator has informed me that offing him will result in you two pursuing me after I leave this trash heap. And I won't tolerate that.
So she makes a proposal. The Jedi fly to Nar Shaddaa, where Aura has Palpatine. Then she'll trade the senator for their brand new ship, as well as, of course, a healthy ransom. Our hero's response?
I sense a trap.
Next move?
Spring the trap.
Padme gets on the horn and reveals Palpatine's location to everybody in the sector, causing another battle to explode between gangsters, Republic forces, and Trade Federation ships. Our heroes use the chaos to fly from Nal Hutta to Nar Shaddaa. Once again, Anakin pilots through a firestorm, capably getting our trio to their destination despite being targeted by gang ships, assassin ships, and even Maul and his personal fighter. Our heroes reach Nar Shaddaa and Palpatine's safe house, which is heavily guarded by anti-aircraft cannons and Aura Singh's men. But Anakin, being the ace pilot he is, has an idea for how to get in. Our heroes emerge from the crash, and come to an immediate crossroads, because Maul has tailed them here and is ready to fight. So Obi-Wan sends Anakin and Padme after Palpatine while he duels Maul. And, I mean, let's not rob ourselves of this. Anakin and Padme hunt down Aura, who has Palpatine. Unfortunately, the bounty hunter has set up a series of traps to slow and hopefully defeat her foes, and is simultaneously taking potshots from afar, and is taunting Anakin by calling him a lapdog to both Obi-Wan and an antiquated Jedi Order. Mines, droids, and other traps bog down our heroes, until, during a moment of panic, Padme is shot, and Anakin loses it. Up until this point, he and his partner have been struggling through the field of traps, but once Padme goes down, Anakin just sees red. Caution is gone, his connection to the dark side amplified. In his fury, Anakin becomes a force of nature, barreling straight through traps, deflecting bombs and bolts, and crushing droids to reach Aura. And despite the bounty hunter trying to flee, he hunts her down, then cuts her down. The aftermath of the battle is celebratory, but cautiously so. Obi-Wan ponders who hired Aura, a Jedi hunter of all things, to hunt Palpatine, and where Maul came from. Palpatine praises Anakin's performance in rescuing him. Anakin, despite basking in the praise, is still more concerned about a recovering Padme. But Padme is just happy that they all got through it, and that despite everything, the Trade Federation and Republic have come to an agreement, meaning that, despite the chaos along the way, peace has been achieved. For now. My biggest complaint about The Phantom Menace is that it is so disconnected from the rest of the trilogy. It has a lot of one-offs. Qui-Gon, Maul, Jar Jar, thank God. Even Anakin being a kid is asynchronous with the rest of the trilogy. So with this rewrite, I wanted to build a stronger connection between The Phantom Menace and its siblings. The main purpose of the prequel trilogy is to tell the tragedy of Darth Vader the Unwise. But Phantom Menace is surprisingly detached from that narrative, to the point that some watch recommendations exclude it entirely. This rewrite corrects that by being a seed. One that springs into a tree which defines Anakin's relationships and worldview, as well as giving hints to his inevitable fall. Aspects like that are essential in a prequel. More essential, I think, than the novelty of seeing Darth Vader as a kid, because they invite more speculation and discourse. Perfect example, we know Luke gets his daddy's saber, which is blue, but in this movie, Anakin's blade is yellow. That's a thing where as a viewer you would go,
Oh, I guess he loses the yellow at some point. How? Why?
and it gets you excited for an answer. We know the destination, but we still want to see the journey. Kid Anakin is fine, but functions better in a comic book or novel. For live action, starting the journey later, ironically enough, only grants us additional context. And, hopefully, makes the story a little more whole. That's all for this one. Like and subscribe because I've got more rewrites, fixes, essays, and whatnot in the works. And speaking of, for my next rewrite,
Lungs, pancreas, so many snacks, so little time.
until then though, cheers!